They stood for artistic integrity. They turned their backs on the industry's biggest stage. And then, within days, they were standing in a dark arena, raising their hands while the man on stage danced through a legacy soaked in felony convictions and blood. Two seemingly impossible decisions, separated by only a few days, and the internet is still trying to figure out which one is the real BTS. You saw the headlines. You saw the hashtags trending worldwide. You saw the fan accounts going dark, the streaming playlists being deleted, and the furious threads dissecting every single frame of a grainy Instagram story. This wasn't a dating rumor. This wasn't a chart manipulation scandal. This was far deeper. This was a fracture between the most powerful fan army on the planet and the artist they swore to protect. It's a story about moral purity, the illusion of the clean celebrity, and the moment two global superstars walked into a venue that many believe they never should have entered. But here is the part that nobody is talking about loud enough. The timing wasn't a coincidence. The decision to be there, in that specific crowd, on that specific night, sent a message that contradicted everything they had just told the world. And before this video is over, you're going to see the exact moment the narrative shifted, the hidden detail in the footage that set the fan base on fire, and the question that the PR machines are praying you don't ask. To understand why this scandal has cut so deep, you have to look at the pedestal. For years, BTS hasn't just been a band, they have been a global institution built on a foundation of self-love, empowerment, and social consciousness. They spoke at the United Nations. They partnered with UNICEF. They told millions of young people around the world to love themselves, to speak themselves, to stand against the currents of violence and silence. Their lyrics were praised for challenging societal norms, for pushing back against the toxic structures of the entertainment industry. They were the safe space. They were the good guys. That is the context that makes the events of August 12th so explosive. The stage was set in Toronto. It was the second night of the R&B tour, a massive headlining spectacle featuring Usher and Chris Brown. The arena was packed, the lights were low, and the energy was electric. When you attend a concert of this magnitude, you are not just listening to music, you are endorsing the brand. You are participating in the celebration of a legacy. And the legacy on that stage is complicated, to say the least. It is a legacy that includes undeniable talent, chart-topping hits, and decades of influence. But it is also a legacy stained by violence, legal battles, and a very specific 2009 felony assault conviction involving Rihanna. When the camera lights from a fan phone panned across the VIP section, the internet froze. There they were, RM and J-Hope, the leader and the hope of the biggest group in the world. They weren't hiding. They weren't slipping out early. J-Hope uploaded stories to his Instagram account showing the perspective from their seats, the stage glowing in front of them, the beat dropping, the crowd screaming. He was showing millions of followers that he was enjoying the show. He was enjoying Chris Brown. The reaction was instantaneous. It wasn't just anger, it was bewilderment. It was the sound of a carefully constructed image cracking in real time. How could the group that preached gender equality and condemned violence stand and applaud for a man whose career has been defined by a brutal assault? It felt like a glitch in the matrix. For a fan base that prides itself on holding the group to the highest possible standard of integrity, this wasn't just a bad look, it was a betrayal. But wait, before you think you know exactly where this story is going, you need to look at the sequence of events. Because this didn't happen in a vacuum. This happened in the shadow of another bombshell. Just days before the Toronto concert, the group announced a decision that sent shockwaves through the Recording Academy. BTS announced they would not be submitting their music for consideration at the 2027 Grammy Awards. The reason? The Academy had introduced a new category, Best Asian Pop Music Performance. To many, this looked like a win, a recognition of the global dominance of K-pop and Asian artists. But BTS saw it differently. They saw it as segregation. They saw it as the industry trying to box them in, to separate them from the main categories because of their region or language. The group said it wanted its music to be recognized for what it is, rather than divided by region or language. The fans rallied behind them. ARMY praised the decision as a masterclass in artistic integrity. Finally, a group with the power and influence to say no to the American music machine. They were refusing to be tokenized. They were standing up for the art. The narrative was clear: BTS does not need the industry needs BTS. They were the rebels, the truth tellers, the ones who couldn't be bought. That is the context you need to understand the fury that followed. The same people who were praising the group for boycotting the Grammys for their moral high ground were now watching them cheer for Chris Brown. It created a cognitive dissonance that was impossible to ignore. You cannot claim to boycott a system for its lack of respect for the art while simultaneously validating an artist whose personal history represents the darkest aspects of the celebrity machine. And then, the second layer of the controversy started to bubble to the surface. It wasn't just Chris Brown on that stage. It was Usher. And in 2026, Usher's name had become entangled in a web of industry horror stories following the criminal conviction of Sean Diddy Combs. The public had been watching the unfolding of a massive expose involving trafficking abuse and the dark underbelly of the entertainment industry. Usher, who was mentored by Diddy as a teenager, had made comments defending Combs' legacy, asking the public to remember the good times even as the horrific allegations mounted. So now the picture was complete. RM and J-Hope weren't just at a concert, they were standing in a section that seemed to be paying homage to a corner of the industry that many survivors and advocates were actively fighting against. The symbolism was heavy. It was suffocating. The backlash didn't just simmer, it boiled over. Hashtags began to trend calling for boycotts. Not boycotts of the radio or the awards shows, but boycotts of BTS themselves. Fan accounts with millions of followers switched their profile pictures to black. Streaming numbers dipped as a subset of the fandom attempted to organize a listening freeze. The discourse shifted from, "Did you see the video?" to "How do we reconcile this?" The fan base, which had long been a united shield against the world, was now fighting itself. Some fans argued for grace. They claimed that attending a concert is not an endorsement of a person's entire history. They argued that RM and J-Hope are adults who can appreciate musicality and performance art without condoning the artist's past actions. They pointed out that the music industry is filled with problematic figures, and if you were to boycott every artist who has ever worked with a bad person, you would have no music left to listen to. But the other side was louder. The other side had receipts. They'd brought up the group's past statements. They brought up the lyrics about violence against women. They brought up the UN speeches about dignity. They argued that with great power comes great responsibility, and that being a global role model means you don't get to turn off your morals just because the beat is good. They described the appearance as inconsistent with everything BTS claimed to stand for. This is where the story takes a turn into the shadows. Because while the internet was arguing about morality, a different kind of conversation was happening in the private channels of the industry. Leaked DMs and insider posts began to surface, suggesting that the attendance was not a spontaneous night out. There were whispers that it was a networking maneuver gone wrong. Some claimed that a third party, a fixer or a label connection, had arranged the tickets to broker a peace meeting or a collaboration between the camps. The motive wasn't celebration, it was business. And if that is true, it means the decision to step into that arena was a calculated risk by a team that severely underestimated the intelligence of the ARMY. Think about that for a second. The story you are being told, that they just wanted to see a concert, might be the cover. The open loop here is the guest list. Who else was in that VIP booth? Who organized the security detail? These are the questions that the fan base is currently investigating, zooming in on reflections in sunglasses and comparing timestamps from different angles of the arena. They are looking for proof that this was a sanctioned PR event. The climax of this saga is not a single moment, it is a deafening silence. In the days following the explosive backlash, the machine went quiet. Neither RM nor J-Hope nor the management company Bigot Music has issued a statement. No apology, no explanation, no defense. The Instagram stories were left up for 24 hours, allowed to expire naturally, as if the outrage wasn't even worth the click of a delete button. That silence is the story. For a group that usually acknowledges fan concerns, even through subtle gestures or vague song lyrics, the total blackout is alarming. It has been interpreted by many as arrogance. They think they are too big to fail. One viral tweet read, "They think we will just get over it." Others see the silence as a legal strategy, that acknowledging the controversy formally would validate it and link the BTS brand permanently to the Chris Brown criminal record in search engine results. In the world of crisis PR, sometimes you just wait for the news cycle to eat itself. But the fans aren't letting it go. The comment sections on their latest social media posts are flooded with questions. Why were you there? Do you support abusers? Answer us. It is a public inquisition. The climax isn't the concert. The climax is the realization that the image of the perfect idol is a construct, and when the construct cracks, the people behind it have a choice that they can explain themselves, or they can hide. And right now, they are hiding. So, where does that leave us now? The dust has not settled. It is still swirling. This is not a scandal that ends with a clean resolution. There are loose threads everywhere. The Grammy boycott is still in effect, but its moral power has been neutralized in the eyes of many. How can they preach about the integrity of the music when they are standing in the crowd of a man whose music is inseparable from his violence? The group's upcoming schedules are being scrutinized. Every move is being watched. The boycotts are ongoing, though their true financial impact is difficult to measure against the sheer size of the global fandom. There are reports of fan-led projects being canceled, donation drives in the group's name being paused, and a general sense of mourning. Mourning for the loss of the illusion. And there is the question of the third party. The investigation into who arranged the meeting hasn't stopped. If it comes out that this was a set up by a US label trying to force a collaboration, it changes the narrative from bad judgment to industry manipulation. And if that is the case, the expose is just beginning. Here is the thought I want to leave you with. We demand perfection from our idols. We demand that they be flawless role models, that they never make a mistake, that they never let us down. But we also demand that they be authentic, that they be real human beings with passions and tastes. What happens when the authentic version of our idols is someone we don't recognize? What happens when the person dancing in the dark at a concert is not the hero we built in our minds, but just a man who likes the music? Is it their job to live up to our morality, or is it their job to make good art? The answer isn't easy, and that is why this story is so painful. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is this the end of the untouchable era for BTS, or is this just a bump in the road? Do we separate the art from the artist, or do we hold the artist accountable for the art they consume? If you want to stay ahead of these breaking celebrity breakdowns and the dark side of the entertainment industry, make sure you subscribe to Snapcraze Hub right now. Hit that bell because the investigation into that VIP booth isn't over, and when the truth drops, you won't want to be the last to know.